Hello everyone and welcome to a new video. You clicked on this video because you might be wondering, why might my BMW be smoking like crazy, specifically B58s? I'm gonna put up some videos, maybe put some links in the comments, description of what a PCV is. Pressure crankcase ventilation. Very simply put, your motor is a big air compressor, right? You suck in there and you push out air. What happens in between? Combustion. Okay, that's where you want most of your air and your fuel to be, because if it's not, you might have a problem. Air goes in your turbo or in your intake. That is for your intake. Air goes into your intake manifold and it splits up into 6, 4, 8, however many cylinders you have. It goes into those intake valves. The motor is split into two pieces, okay? You got the head and you got the block. In the head is where your camshafts are. It's where the computer, the brain, the motor, everything communicates together to be like, oh, I want this much air because I'm gonna shoot this much spark and this much fuel. Good, okay? So in the head, you're gonna have a lot of pressure because that's where all the air is getting sucked in before it goes into the block. Because what controls the control of flow of air? Your valves. You're starting to push more power, more air, especially if you're a big turbo like I am now. You're gonna have a lot of pressure in the head until you start getting tuned. But even then, you're still gonna be pushing a lot of pressure, okay? Because the tune is only gonna control your fueling and then your spark. So that's all happening in the block. That's why you want the block to be very strong. That's why a lot of companies offer billet blocks for different cars. Very expensive. BMW created, the PCV system in these B58s to modulate and regulate the amount of air pressure coming through the head and the valve cover, which is on top of the head. Call it part of the head. It keeps things from going crazy, okay? Pressure. So what happens if you're pushing a lot of pressure through the OEM original PCV diaphragm? Now remember, if you watch one of my old videos, I did replace the PCV diaphragm in this car because I had a plume of smoke coming out the exhaust. I'll try to put up a video of someone else's car doing that right here. Long story short, if you get a tear in that PCV diaphragm, which is just a rubber piece of circle thing, bypass gases or pressure, they're gonna get passed through the system, through the crank, and sooner enough, it's just gonna go out the exhaust, looking like a factory that caught on fire and exploded. So what does this upgrade, the title of this video, do? It relieves the pressure in the valve cover / head area. Now you might be wondering, well, if you have a big hose going from the motor to, the atmosphere, wouldn't that be technically a big leak? No, because the PCV system is very, I'm gonna say it's complicated, it's complex, probably isn't. But what it does is it gets rid of the extra gases in the motor, okay? It's gases that we don't need. In the original system, it gets rid of what it can, and whatever is still left in there, it gets recirculated through the intake system because there's a pipe through the exhaust side, not the exhaust, but on the hot side of the motor, there is a crankcase ventilation system that just ventilates back into the intake pipe, the charge pipe. In our case, we just have it vent into the atmosphere because we don't have it recirculating through our charge pipe. I'm gonna do a little unboxing. Ross Racing sent me an email saying that they included a new fitting in it. I guess it's like a beta test or whatever. He wants me to send some photos. I'm gonna make a whole video out of it. So let's go and unbox it. The package definitely says fragile on it, but oh well. All right, let's go ahead and open this up real quick. Nice and double packaged, question mark? Triple? There we go. This is the V1 kit, so this only has one breather hose coming out the PCV, whereas the V2 has 2 breather holes because more power, faster cars than mine will need that. I don't. I went with the vent to atmosphere option also. There was an option to have the cash can kit and everything. So, this thing is zip tied like crazy. Good packaging though. There's 2 different hoses. One for the PCV, and the other one for the crankcase ventilation. 1 hose, 2 hose. Let me bring the camera in a little bit. Oh yeah, let me open this too. And he marked it V1. So he does include a Ross Racing decal, little stickers. Does include tiny Allen keys. I guess you would call them like locking screws. There's to tie down this breather cap. Packaging on point. Shout out to Ross Racing. And nice and good material. So as you can see, there are O-rings that replace it. In the OEM one, there is not any O-rings. You just kind of hammer it, okay, you don't hammer it on, but you fit it on to its, where it should be, right? Now this one does have O-rings because it'll seal along with locking with that hole and that hole. So that's where those tiny little screws go. So just gotta be careful not to drop those in the engine bay or else you are pretty screwed, pun not intended. Now let me show y'all the fittings on the hoses. So this one definitely for the breather cap. This is a banjo fitting. I believe these are 10 AN. I'm not sure which fitting Ross said is new. I think it might be this one. This one looks pretty cool. It has Ross Racing branding all over the place. This is definitely gonna go on here. And then this one, I don't know if it takes place of the whole system on the front crankcase ventilation, but we will find some instructions online and figure this out. Obviously, the first thing you're gonna wanna do is remove your outlet. And I brought this pry tool. This is what I got used to take off the original PCV valve the first time. So we're gonna do this again. So this is the oil cap, which we are not messing with. This is the PCV system. Now my engine bay is still a little hot, but we should be fine. So you should hear a audible click, all right? So there's the original cap off. Not really any oil in there, just a little bit of vapors kind of residing along the sides-ish. I never had any issues with this replacement one. As you can see, there's really not much oil on here. Obviously there is some, and this side's pretty dry, no rips like my last one. And then take the spring out, and that is your complete PCV system along with the cap. Now I'm gonna keep this in here because I'm actually gonna use a little bit of the oil from the diaphragm to lube up the new one. So on this new one, there are O-rings, 3 of them along the middle to block off that path. And then there's a big O-ring along the outside. So really, we're just gonna slightly touch some oil, if we can get any. I'm gonna take some from this spot because it's kind of like the freshest, seems like. And let's go ahead and fit this on there. Pretty good press. There is a slight bit of play, but obviously that's gonna happen because O-rings are made of rubber. And what happens with rubber? They compress and they decompress, kind of like a spring. It's just rubber. And we're going to attach these in one baggie. It has both of the screws in there. So let's start with the back one because that seems harder to reach, and why not? Very, very tiny screws, very tiny. What I'm actually gonna do is I'm gonna get started on here with the screw. That way we're not trying to find a hole and accidentally strip it. Okay, so got that side started. And then we can do the front side too while we're here. It's enough threads to where they won't fall out as you're trying to press this down. Okay, good. Put this back in its place. There we go. Nice. And then we're going to find a hole. This is kind of in the way. Just push it down. Okay, let's just do this side first. So I do know some people recommend removing the oil fill cap, so that's to the side. And that way it's so much easier to access this front one because you won't be able to get a full 360 rotation on your Allen. So that front one is pretty set. Now this rear one, is there a way to remove these lines from here? Probably is, but I just don't feel like undoing it. We can do this. Oh yeah, we're on it. Remember, do not go too hard when screwing these in, just enough to where you get some resistance because you don't want to bend the plastic and have gases leaking everywhere. And don't drop your Allen key in the oil fill side. That's not spinning. That should be good. Put this back on. Nice. All right. Obviously, the whole reason why we use banjo fittings is because they are flexible. Well, they spin, not flexible. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and stick this hose down where it should go, to the floor, and we will seat this. We'll kind of screw as much as we can with our fingers. Yep. If I can still do it with my fingers, there's no way we're stripping it. Knock on wood. So that's good. And let's get this tight. Ooh, my legs. And there is an O-ring on this banjo fitting, so it should not leak through there for sure. I am making the most out of this. Almost dead. Okay, nice. All right, so we're gonna grab our flashlight. We're gonna double check where this is being routed to. Yeah, that's pretty good. Now this 90 degrees slash, I guess it's almost like a 180. It's supposed to take place of this hose right here, this one. Okay. Now, I'm not 100% sure what this is supposed to do. 90 degrees, I don't get it. So if we go 90 degrees from there, that's gonna vent that way. I don't think there's a way to take this off. Interesting. Because if it was a regular 90, it'd be fine. Confusion. This is supposed to, or is it supposed to go like this and underneath the charge pipe? Oh no, let's take off the OEM one. This should come off. So yeah, you're gonna need to use a flathead or a pick tool to get this off. Now it's hot. Got the hose off. Don't need that. Need to get this whole thing off. There we go. And she is oily. All right, new plan of attack. So in this kit, there was a second Allen key, which I'm pretty sure we're supposed to use to take off this, I guess it's kind of like a shield thing. It's like a shield. So we loosen that and not lose it. That right there. Now my only question is, where does this hose go to? So we take that off. This is technically a banjo fitting. It does fit with the compressor housing, or I guess the turbine housing. Oh, there's a notch too. Okay, that's the top notch. Let me show you guys real quick what the notch I'm talking about. That notch, let me lube it up some more. I know my hands are getting dirty. That lines up. We can put the piece back on. So we got both lines connected. Now my only question is, where is this supposed to route to? This is pretty short, so if this is venting to here, there's a lot of stuff that this could blow on. Now this one isn't really going to blow oil anywhere. It's really just like constant flow of like very low pressure air. It just sounds like something's like blowing on you. Whereas this one's the one that actually creates a lot of pressure. Could have some oil blow by, obviously. Gotta figure out where this routes to. It doesn't make sense for it to go down where the turbo would be because it bends 90. So like if we turned it that way, it would just bend straight into the block, which makes no sense. So maybe it does route this way, or maybe it comes out this way. I don't know. Maybe it comes down like this. Now I guess, I think he did say it does come out the front of the car. Like not the front of the car, but like it stays along this side. Maybe this hose is bent weird. Go down like this. Now, where is the motor mount? Flashlight. This is why we use flashlights. Okay. Underneath the motor mount. There we go. I don't know if this makes sense. We'll just have it routed that way for now. So, a breakdown of what's happening. So we have this hose kind of going straight down and then kind of pointing backwards, if that makes sense. And then this one, it's doing a weird little, maybe we have it like this. And I could tighten that one to stay like that. So it's kind of like laying flat right now. Not 100% sure. I'll ask him, obviously I'll send him pictures of what's going on, but kind of hard to see. We have it routing down that way, down over there. It's in that hole. There's a motor mount. It went under the motor mount. Yeah, I think that's pretty good. Now let's see if the valve cover fits or if we're gonna have to cut it. Obviously probably gonna have to cut it because that thing sticks out like a sore thumb. That one's not really in the way, but that one, I don't know. Yeah, I knew this wasn't gonna fit. That's fine. Let's find no engine cover. Ross Racing is pretty hot, boy. Kind of a recap of everything. It's not too complicated. You know, with car parts that are kind of fit to fit something, but there are some things you can do your own way. Like there's a lot of variables that could be added in. Not like there's a lot of variables in this, but there's a lot of different holes you could fit these hoses through. You just gotta figure out what works. Obviously, you don't want things catching on fire, but there's been plenty of people that have done this. It's just that this new fitting is supposed to, I guess, clear the turbo, because I didn't realize how much of an issue it could be if you had the wrong fitting. Like if you had that big banjo fitting over here, it definitely might come into contact with the turbo and cause some issues. So this 90 definitely clears the way of the turbo. Turbo feed line clears fine. At first I thought it was gonna be an issue too, because I was going underneath it when you could just go around it. Hence, I think the 90 degree does the job it's supposed to. Yeah, other than that, I think everything is pretty good. And I just found a new place to route this hose. Hope y'all enjoy this video. Hope y'all have a good one. Thanks for watching. Make sure you subscribe. I'm also gonna tell you to subscribe in the beginning of the video because I forgot to.